The grainy glow of the security camera framed Sophia's last moments of freedom. At precisely 11:47 p.m., she stepped into the narrow hallway of her Miami apartment building, keys jingling in her hand, hair pulled loose from a long hospital shift. She smiled faintly, a tired nurse's smile, gentle, practiced, the kind she gave her patients even when exhaustion clung to her. That fleeting smile would be the last image of her alive. The lens caught the small details. The white hospital sneakers, the coffee stain on her scrubs, the gold bracelet shaped like a stethoscope glinting under the fluorescent light. She paused at her door, shifting her bag on her shoulder. To anyone else, this was an ordinary moment, but in the silence of the camera's recording, it became a prophecy. She would never step back through that door. Hours earlier, the world around her had pulsed with life. At Jackson Memorial Hospital, Sophia's voice was the calm in the storm. A 6-year-old boy had clutched her hand as the ER lights blazed overhead. "You're safe, sweetheart." "I promise," she whispered, brushing damp curls from his forehead. His frightened eyes searched hers, and for a second he believed her. That was her gift, making people believe in safety, in healing, even when pain and chaos pressed close. "She's an angel," the boy's mother had told another nurse in the waiting room. An actual angel. Sophia had only smiled, embarrassed. She never saw herself as extraordinary. To her, it was simple. Help, heal, give more than you take. Later that evening, as she clocked out, her colleague Luna teased, "You keep this up, and you'll have wings by Christmas." Dinner Friday. Sophia laughed, shaking her head. "I'll hold you to that." Those were her last casual words to friend. They carried the unknowing weight of finality. Words that would echo in memory once her absence became permanent. Now on the footage, the hallway looked lifeless. The air was stale, the carpet worn thin, the exit sign buzzing faintly. Yet the camera seemed to know. It lingered on her as if capturing not just her steps, but the tragedy trailing behind her. Inside the apartment, lights flickered on. Sophia dropped her bag on the couch, exhaling in relief. Her voice broke the silence as she spoke to herself, a habit born of long shifts and empty apartments. "Tomorrow's another 12 hours. Sophomore, you got this." The words were light, hopeful. They carried the rhythm of someone rebuilding a life. Someone who had clawed her way out of shadows and dared to imagine brightness again. If only she had known what was already waiting in the darkness. The flashbacks tightened their grip. Her father's proud voice at her nursing graduation. "You'll change lives, Mija." Her mother's laughter as she pinned a flower in Sophia's hair. "You were always meant to heal." The warmth of Hassan's encouragement across oceans. "The world is bigger now, Sophia. Don't be afraid of it." Each memory layered her humanity, her dreams, her fight to live freely. And each memory made the cruel irony sharper. That someone else's obsession would erase all of it in hours. The hallway camera's timestamp blinked forward. 11:47:36. 11:47:37. 11 hours, 47 minutes, and 38 seconds. The door shut behind her, sealing her inside. The footage ended. As if fate itself had pressed stop. The next morning, Mrs. Colon-Threeby would replay those seconds in her head, swearing she'd heard something. A thud, a cry. But for now, the night held its secrets close, waiting for tragedy to reveal itself. Sophia's story had begun its final chapter. Before the shadows crept into her life, Sophia's world was built on light. Her father, Alejandro, had crossed an ocean from Colombia with little more than determination and a medical textbook that smelled of ink and salt air. He became a cardiologist in Miami, the kind of doctor who held his patients' hands as though the warmth itself could steady their hearts. Sophia often watched him at the hospital, slipping into the waiting room after school. She would see him lean close to frightened families and say, "You're not alone. We'll get through this together." Her mother, Marisol, balanced that science with art. She painted sunlit streets and ocean horizons, canvases splashed with colors that seemed to hum with life. On quiet evenings, Sophia sat cross-legged beside her, watching a brush swirl cobalt into amber. "See, mi amor?" Marisol would whisper, "Life is always more beautiful when you look for the color. Those two forces, her father's healing and her mother's vision, shaped Sophia into a girl who carried both empathy and imagination. Her little sister, Carmen, was the tether that grounded her. Only 2 years apart, they were inseparable, braiding each other's hair before school, whispering secrets under blanket forts, and racing bicycles down the cracked sidewalks until their laughter spilled into the night. Once, when Carmen scraped her knee on the pavement, Sophia tore the hem of her dress to press against the wound. "It'll be okay, Car. I'll fix it," she promised with the certainty of a child who already knew she would heal others one day. From then on, Carmen would joke, "Soph, you're going to be the doctor. I'll just be your assistant." Sophia always shook her head. Not a doctor, a nurse, the one who never leaves a room. Even then, she sensed the difference. Nurses were anchors, not just healers. The family's small Miami home was filled with the ordinary warmth of immigrant sacrifice. Alejandro worked long nights. Marisol painted commission for neighbors. But dinner was always shared. Rice steaming on the table, voices overlapping in English and Spanish. "Papa, today I helped Mrs. Rodriguez carry her groceries." Sophia would beam. Alejandro ruffled her hair. "Of course you did. You have my heart and your mama-s hands." Marisol laughed, reaching across the table. "And Carmen has my stubbornness." "Hey!" Carmen protested, making them all laugh harder. These moments stitched Sophia's childhood into a fabric of belonging, one she carried long after she left home. Yet even in innocence, fate sometimes whispered. One summer night, fireflies glimmered in the backyard while Sophia and Carmen lay on a blanket, staring at the stars. "Do you think we'll always be together?" Carmen asked. "Always," Sophia said softly, tracing the constellations with her finger. "Even if we're far apart, you'll feel me. Like the stars, you can't touch them, but they're always there." The promise lingered in Carmen's memory long after it would be tested. Years later, when Sophia walked across the stage at her nursing graduation, her family's cheers rose above the crowd. Alejandro's eyes brimmed with tears. Marisol clutched Carmen's hand, whispering, "She's the best of us." It was true. Sophia's compassion had been nurtured from childhood. Every patient she comforted, every friend she supported, every dream she chased, it all stemmed from that house, those parents, that sister. And that was what made the cruelty of her loss unbearable. University was supposed to be Sophia's fresh start. The campus buzzed with ambition. Students clutching textbooks, debating theories under palm trees, darting between labs and libraries. Amid the rush, Sophia often claimed her corner table in the medical library, highlighters spread like a rainbow across her notes. It was there she first noticed him. Devin Blake, tall, sharp-featured, with the kind of confidence that seemed sculpted, not earned. His white coat fit as though tailored, his voice low and steady when he asked, "Mind if I sit here?" Sophia glanced up, startled. "Oh, no, go ahead." He smiled, setting his anatomy textbook down. Within minutes, they discovered shared schedules and mutual professors. Devin spoke with ease about medicine, his goals, his late-night studying. He asked about her family, her dreams of pediatrics, and listened as if her words held weight. For a young woman raised on compassion, his attention felt intoxicating. Their study sessions grew frequent. Devin brought coffee just the way she liked it. 2 sugars, no cream. He reminded her to take breaks, walking her across campus at dusk when shadows stretched long. Her friends teased, "He's smitten, Soph," and she only blushed. One night, while reviewing cardiovascular physiology, Devin leaned closer, pointing at her notes. His hand brushed hers. She looked up, and his eyes held hers for just a beat too long. "You're brilliant," he murmured. "You'll be the kind of nurse patients never forget." Her cheeks warmed. No one had ever said it with such certainty. Her parents adored him instantly. At Sunday dinner, Alejandro asked, "So, Devin, what drew you to medicine?" Devin's answer was polished. "I want to leave something behind, to be remembered for more than just existing." Marisol smiled approvingly. Carmen rolled her eyes but whispered to Sophia later, "He's perfect. Almost too perfect." Sophia only laughed. "But perfection has edges." It began with little things. Devin grew quiet when Sophia mentioned study partners outside their circle. If she answered a text during dinner, his jaw tightened. Once, when she arrived late to the library, he asked, with who? Before she'd explain she'd been stuck in traffic. He always apologized afterward. I just care about you. I don't want to lose what we have. His words wrapped around her like silk and like rope. There were moments, though, when his charm shone brighter than her doubts. He sent flowers during her first finals week. He left notes in her textbooks. You got this. Proud of you. On her birthday. He surprised her with a rooftop dinner, string lights flickering like stars. Sophia told Luna, "It feels like destiny, like all the pain from before was leading me here." Luna's smile was gentle, but her warning lingered. Just make sure destiny doesn't ask for too much in return. By the end of their second year, Sophia couldn't imagine life without Devin. He was intelligent, disciplined, admired by professors. To outsiders, he seemed a perfect match for her, a golden couple destined for success. But beneath the surface, something darker stirred. Devin's eyes sometimes lingered too long, measuring, calculating. His compliments carried an edge, as if weighing her worth against invisible expectations. And though she brushed it aside, Sophia felt, in fleeting moments, the chill of being observed rather than cherished. On a rainy evening, after walking her home, Devin pressed a kiss to her forehead and whispered, "You're mine, Sophia. Always remember that." The words were tender, yet a flicker of unease sparked in her chest. She told herself it was nothing, just love spoken too intensely. She didn't yet know that in those words lay the seed of her undoing. At first, Sophia told herself it was love that asked where she was, who she was with, when she would be home. Devin's constant questions seemed like care, the overprotectiveness of a man who feared losing her. But slowly, care hardened into surveillance. It began with texts that stacked up like bricks. "Where are you? Why didn't you answer? Who's with you?" If she didn't reply immediately, another would follow, shorter, sharper. Once, when she left her phone in her bag during clinical rounds, she found 20 missed messages and 3 voicemails, his voice clipped. "Call me. Now." When she finally did, Devin's relief spilled into reprimand. "Do you know what it does to me when you disappear like that?" Sophia whispered apologies, though she wasn't sure what she was sorry for. Then came the appearances. Devin began showing up unannounced. Outside her lecture hall, waiting at her car, standing in the hospital lobby after her shifts. At first she thought it sweet, but soon it felt like shadows moving wherever she turned. One evening, she walked into the library and nearly dropped her books. Devin was already there, at her usual table, his smile tight. "Surprise," he said. "Devin, how did you know I'd be here?" "I just do." She laughed nervously, forcing herself to see romance instead of intrusion. Her friends noticed a change before she did. At a cafe, Carmen leaned across the table. "Soph, you're jumpy. You barely come out anymore. Is everything okay with him?" Sophia stirred her coffee, eyes down. "He just loves me a lot." Luna frowned. "Love doesn't bruise." Sophia's head snapped up. "What do you mean?" Luna glanced at her wrist, where faint marks peeked beneath her sleeve. Sophia tugged the fabric down quickly. "That was nothing. We argued and he grabbed me. He didn't mean to. He apologized." The silence that followed was heavy. That night replayed in her mind often. They'd been arguing about a classmate who'd walked her to her car. Devin's voice rose, sharp with jealousy. When she tried to leave the room, his hand clamped around her wrist, pulling her back. The pressure was sudden, shocking. She gasped, twisting, but his grip only tightened until she whimpered. His eyes, usually warm brown, were flat, cold. Then, as quickly as it came, it was gone. He released her, staring at the red marks blooming on her skin. His face crumpled with horror. I'm so sorry. I mean, Sophia, you have to believe me." He kissed her wrist, frantic. I can't lose you." Tears blurred her vision, but she nodded, letting him fold her into his arms. She told herself it was a mistake, that he was under pressure. That good men sometimes falter, but excuses stacked higher than truths. Her world narrowed. Friends she once confided in now received her silence. Invitations were declined. Calls went unanswered. Even Carmen, her anchor, felt her drifting away. At home, Devon's words carved into her. They don't understand us. They're jealous. They'll poison what we have. And she believed him, because love had become a fog she couldn't see beyond. Yet at night, when she lay awake listening to Devon's steady breathing beside her, Sophia felt a quiet dread she couldn't name. She remembered Luna's warning, Carmen's worried eyes, her own reflection in the mirror, the faint outline of a bruise fading, only to be replaced by a deeper one inside. Still, when morning came, she smiled at Devon's kisses, tucked her sleeve over her wrist, and whispered the lie she needed most. I'm fine. The night it happened, rain lashed against the windows of Sophia's apartment, the storm outside mirroring the one inside. Their argument began like the others. Questions sharpened into accusations, his voice rising until it filled the room. But this time, something shifted. When she tried to retreat, Devon's rage exploded. He slammed a fist against the wall inches from her face. She flinched, heart racing, but held her ground. His hand seized her shoulders, shaking her so hard her teeth clattered. You think you can walk away from me? He snarled. For the first time, Sophia's fear turned into something stronger, resolve. She shoved him back, her voice trembling yet fierce. Enough, Devon. You don't own me. The words hung in the air like a shattering glass. Devon froze, his chest heaving. For a heartbeat, she thought he might crumble into apologies, like all the times before. But instead his eyes darkened, and in them she saw something unrecognizable. That was the moment she knew. If she stayed, she wouldn't survive. With shaking hands, Sophia dialed 911 the moment Devon stormed out. By the time police arrived, she was sobbing, adrenaline surging, clutching her bruised arms. The report was filed. The restraining order followed days later. Devon didn't fight it. He simply vanished. But silence, she soon learned, could be its own form of violence. Sophia packed what she could into a single suitcase and fled to her parents' home. Marisol's embrace was wordless, her tears soaking into Sophia's hair. Alejandro hovered nearby, furious yet helpless. Carmen wrapped herself around her sister, whispering, You're safe now. He can't touch you here. Safe. The word felt fragile, like a glass bubble that might crack at any sound. Therapy began soon after. Dr. Ellen Rivers, a calm woman with kind eyes, guided Sophia through the jagged landscape of trauma. You loved him, Ellen said gently in their first session. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. But love mixed with control becomes something else, something dangerous. Sophia stared at the floor. Why do I still miss him? After everything, it's like my body forgets what he did, but remembers how he made me feel at first. That's trauma bonding, Ellen explained. It's a cycle. Affection, fear, apology, repeat. It wires your brain to cling to hope instead of pain. Sophia nodded, tears welling. I feel ashamed, like I should have known better. You survived, Ellen reminded her. That is what matters most. With Luna's unwavering support, Sophia began piecing herself back together. They walked by the ocean on quiet mornings, the salt air filling her lungs. Luna reminded her to breathe, to laugh, to remember who she had been before Devon. You're not his shadow, Luna told her. You're still you. Sophia wanted to believe it. Some days, she almost did. But Devon was never truly gone. At night, Sophia noticed strange details. A car idling too long outside the house, the faint click of a camera shutter in her imagination, shadows that seemed to stretch closer than they should. Online, he adapted his obsession. Anonymous profiles, like her old photos, sent cryptic messages. You can't hide from me. Posts she hadn't touched in months were suddenly watched, as if each pixel carried his breath. Carmen urged her to block, report, delete. Sophia did all three, yet the feeling remained. Eyes always watching. One evening, as she sat at her childhood desk journaling per Ellen's advice, a notification pinged on her laptop. An email from an unknown address, subject line blank. She hesitated, then clicked. Inside was a single line, mine, always. Her hand shook as she slammed the laptop shut. For a moment, the walls of her parents' home no longer felt safe. The restraining order was paper. The therapy was progress. But Devon's obsession had taken on new shape, one that no locked door could keep out. And though Sophia tried to push the dread away, deep down she knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning of a darker game. The months that followed were stitched together with fragile victories. Each day Sophia rose without Devon's shadow in her doorway felt like a small act of rebellion. Each step toward her old self was one she refused to surrender. She returned to campus with her head held high. Graduation loomed like a sunrise, and though whispers trailed behind her, rumors of her past, pitying glances, Sophia kept moving forward. The girl who once walked on eggshells now crossed the stage in her cap and gown, her smile trembling but real as Alejandro's cheers echoed through the auditorium. Carmen wept openly, waving her phone to capture every second. Marisol's hands clutched a bouquet of sunflowers, the petals bright as if they, too, celebrated Sophia's survival. When her name was called, Sophia Alvarez, Bachelor of Nursing, the applause roared like thunder. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe she might truly be free. Rebuilding wasn't easy. Nights were still haunted by dreams of Devon's grip, his voice curling like smoke in the dark. But therapy had given her language of the pain, a way to step back and say, that was then, this is now. Bit by bit, Sophia reclaimed her life. She met friends for coffee, without checking over her shoulder. She let Luna drag her to late-night diners where laughter spilled louder than fear. She even picked up painting again, her mother's brushes guiding her through bursts of color that felt like breathing after drowning. "You're glowing again," Luna said one evening as they leaned against her car, sipping milkshakes. Sophia chuckled. "That's just a milkshake." "No," Luna pressed. "It's you. You're finally looking forward instead of back." That future came alive in her daydreams. Travel. As a child, Sophia pinned postcards to her bedroom wall. Paris, Tokyo, Cairo, Dubai. They had been fantasies then, symbols of a wider world beyond Miami streets. Now, those same postcards felt like invitations. One afternoon, while scrolling travel blogs at the cafe, Luna leaned over. "You've been staring at Dubai pictures for an hour. Why not just go?" Sophia laughed, almost choking on her coffee. "Go? As in actually get on a plane and—" "Why not?" Luna's grin widened. "You deserve it. You've survived hell. Sophomore, isn't it time you choose something beautiful?" The idea lodged in her chest, terrifying and exhilarating all at once. A city of gleaming skyscrapers and golden deserts. A place with no ghosts, no memories of slammed doors or whispered threats. Dubai became more than a destination. It became a symbol of freedom, of control reclaimed, of a life untouched by Devon's grip. Her family noticed the spark, too. At dinner one Sunday, Carmen teased, "Sophia, I swear, if you mention Dubai one more time, I'm buying you a ticket myself." Marisol's eyes shone. "Mija, you should go. Travel while you can. Let the world remind you how big it is and how small he was." Alejandro raised his glass. "To my daughter, to a future Devon Blake will never touch." They clinked glasses, the moment light with hope. Sophia let the warmth of it soak into her bones. For once, she didn't feel like a survivor. She felt like a woman standing at the edge of possibility. Still, shadows lingered. Occasionally, she caught herself scanning the street, certain she'd seen a familiar figure. Once, while jogging by the water, she swore she heard footsteps behind her, but when she turned, no one was there. Her therapist reminded her, healing doesn't mean the fear disappears. It means you learn to live despite it. So Sophia pressed on, refusing to let paranoia define her. Devon was gone. The restraining order had teeth. And her family, her friends, they were her shield. Late one night, Sophia sat at her desk, flipping through her old postcard collection. Her fingers hovered over the one with Dubai's skyline, its towers glittering like stars against a desert night. She closed her eyes and imagined herself there, walking through spice markets, standing at the edge of the Burj Khalifa, feeling the wind of freedom at last. For the first time, the vision didn't feel impossible. It felt inevitable. Dubai shimmered like a dream Sophia had never dared to believe real. The moment she stepped off the plane, the air felt different. Heat laced with spice, sky pierced by towers of steel and glass. For the first time in years, she wasn't scanning crowds for Devon's face. She was simply there, alive in a place he had never touched. Her hotel overlooked the Arabian Gulf, the water glistening like liquid sapphire beneath the sun. Plush robes, marble halls, endless buffets. It was a kind of luxury she'd once only seen on postcards taped to her childhood wall. Now, she lived inside that postcard, every detail whispering freedom. Days unfurled like silk. She rode a camel across rippling desert dunes, laughter carried by the wind. She clinked glasses of mint tea with Luna in rooftop lounges, neon lights washing their faces in shades of pink and gold. She wandered souks alive with color, inhaling saffron, cardamom, frankincense, the fragrances dizzying but exhilarating. Here, in this new world, choice was hers again. It was at an art exhibition in the Dubai Mall, where she met him, Hassan al-Rashid. He wasn't flashy like the tourists or impatient like the businessmen barking into phones. He moved with quiet confidence, pausing before each painting as if listening to it speak. Sophia noticed him studying a canvas of desert calligraphy, his expression thoughtful. "It feels alive," she said softly, surprising herself. Hassan turned, his eyes warm, his smile genuine. "Yes," like the desert itself, endless, yet full of secrets. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, moving from art to travel to her dreams of working with children in underserved communities. He listened, truly listened, without turning her words into weapons or doubts. "You have vision," Hassan said. "Don't let anyone take that from you." Sophia's chest tightened. Devon had always dismissed her ambitions, calling them impractical, childish. But here was a man who treated her aspirations as treasures instead of burdens. Over the following days, their paths crossed again and again at a cafe near the marina during a guided city tour. Even once in a hotel lobby where Hassan recognized her and greeted her with an easy smile. There was no pressure, no possession, only kindness. When he spoke, she felt lighter, as though the weight of Miami's past slipped a little further from her shoulders. One evening, Hassan invited Sophia and Luna to join a small group for dinner at a traditional Emirati restaurant, beneath lanterns casting golden light. He shared stories of his upbringing, of studying abroad, of returning home to invest in education and health care. "You've endured much," he told Sophia gently after she shared fragments of her journey. "But you are not defined by what broke you. You're defined by how you rise." The words sank deep, stitching something in her that had long remained torn. Luna captured everything on camera: the camel rides, the desert sunset, Sophia's laughter at dinner, and finally, a photo of Sophia standing beside Hassan, both smiling easily under the glow of city lights. It was just a snapshot of friendship, nothing more. But when Sophia uploaded the picture to her private account, proud, alive, radiant, it reached far beyond Dubai. In Miami, a man scrolled through his phone in the dark. Devon Blake. His thumb froze over the image, muscles in his jaw tightening as he zoomed in. Sophia smiled, her hair shimmering under the streetlights. The stranger at her side, a stranger touching what was his. Devon's breath grew ragged, his vision blurring with fury. For months he had waited, biding his time, feeding on scraps of her life from afar. The restraining order, the silence, her absence, it had all been a cage. But now, here she was, daring to live without him, daring to smile for another man. He whispered into the empty room, voice low and trembling with obsession. "You're mine, Sophia. No one else's. Not now, not ever." Back in Dubai, Sophia had no idea of the storm her happiness had reignited. For her, the trip was a celebration of survival, of hope finally blooming after years of fear. She looked ahead to the horizon, imagining new beginnings. But in Miami, Devon was already planning, his obsession sharpening into intent. In Miami, Devin's apartment was a shrine to obsession. The blinds stayed drawn, the air heavy with the stale scent of cigarettes and unwashed clothes. On his desk, 2 monitors glowed, bathing his face in cold light. One screen displayed Sophia's social media page. The other flickered with travel forums, airline websites, and search engines. Every new photo she posted was a knife to the chest. There she was, riding a camel, hair whipping in the desert wind, smiling with Luna on a rooftop, laughing in a souk, sunlight turning her eyes into fire. And then the picture that broke him, Sophia standing beside another man. Hassan, his hand rested casually near her shoulder, too close, too familiar. Devin zoomed in until the pixels blurred. His fingers trembled on the mouse. "She's mine," he hissed, the words slicing the silence. "She's always been mine." The obsession, once dormant, bloomed again. Only now it was sharper, honed by distance and denial. He created fake profiles to lurk behind, each new account a mask. He sent her anonymous messages she ignored, blocked, deleted, but still he came back, desperate for a crack in the wall she'd built. When those failed, he dug deeper. He scoured flight trackers, piecing together when she must have left Miami. He read news about tourist destinations in Dubai, studying the hotels she tagged, memorizing their layouts from Google Images. Her smile in front of the Burj Khalifa became a breadcrumb. A dinner photo became a map. He convinced himself Sophia wasn't just moving on. She was betraying him. Late one night, Devin sat hunched over his desk, an empty bottle at his side. On the screen, Hassan's LinkedIn page glowed. Businessman, philanthropist, well-dressed, respected. Everything Devin wasn't. His teeth ground together. "You think you can replace me?" His voice cracked, half snarl, half sob. "You don't know her. You'll never love her like I do." The fury coiled inside him until it needed release. He grabbed the bottle, hurled it against the wall. Glass shattered, spraying shards across the floor. His breath came heavy, ragged. But beneath the chaos was clarity, an idea sharpening into a plan. He began preparing. At work, he requested time off under the guise of visiting family. His colleagues barely noticed. Devin was forgettable when he wanted to be. He emptied his savings account, each withdrawal justified in his mind as an investment, not in money, but in destiny. In the quiet hours, he researched flights, calculating costs, layovers, the fastest path to Dubai. He studied the laws of the UAE, enough to understand how to move unnoticed. He even practiced new aliases, names rolling off his tongue as if they belonged to him. Every step was wrapped in delusion. To Devin, this wasn't stalking. This wasn't revenge. This was restoration. Sophia had lost her way, seduced by false promises and foreign distractions. He would bring her back. He would remind her of who she belonged to. One evening, as he scrolled through Sophia's page again, a new post appeared, a sunset over the desert, captioned simply, "Freedom." Devin's vision blurred. Rage tightened his chest. Freedom. The word mocked him, a slap across the face. She thought she was free of him. That distance and restraining orders could sever the bond between them. She thought she could smile for another man, build a future without him. His hand shook, but his mind was steady now. "No," he whispered. "Not without me." Days blurred into nights as he finalized his preparations. A suitcase lay open on his bed, half filled with clothes, half with tools. Things he told himself he might need. A knife slipped between folded shirts. A burner phone. A camera. Each item felt like armor against the unknown. He rehearsed it in his head. The flight, the arrival, the search. He pictured Sophia's shock when she saw him, how her anger would melt into tears, into surrender. He told himself she would remember the love, not the pain. The narrative became scripture, one he recited to himself until it was truth. "We are meant to be. She will understand when I'm there." On the night he booked his ticket, Devin sat in the dark, staring at the confirmation email glowing on the screen. His heart pounded, equal parts terror and exhilaration. This was it. No more waiting, no more distance. Across oceans, into shadows, he would go. In Dubai, Sophia had no idea. She laughed with Hassan, planned more adventures with Luna, dreamed of possibilities that felt boundless. Each step forward seemed to carry her further from Miami's darkness. But in Miami, a plane ticket waited on Devon's nightstand, and with it, the promise that her past was not finished with her. The wheels of the plane touched down in Miami with a soft jolt, and Sophia felt a swell of emotions rise in her chest, nostalgia, relief, and something she hadn't felt in years: hope. She clutched the small velvet box in her lap. Hassan's parting gift nestled inside. It wasn't the extravagance that made her heart race, but the thought behind it. Inside lay a bracelet of gold, delicate yet strong, shaped like a stethoscope. The design was simple, elegant, but deeply symbolic. Hassan had listened to her speak about her dreams of becoming a doctor, her determination to heal, her refusal to let the darkness of the past define her. With that single gift, he had reminded her her purpose was still alive, still hers to claim. Sophia pressed the bracelet against her wrist as she left the plane, its cool weight grounding her. For the first time in so long, she believed her future might be brighter than her past. Her parents noticed immediately. At the airport, Carmen squealed with delight and threw her arms around her sister, nearly knocking the bracelet free. "You're glowing," she said, pulling back to study Sophia's face. "It's like you left a shadow behind." Their father, tired from long shifts at the hospital, smiled more fully than Sophia had seen in years. Her mother dabbed at tears with a handkerchief, whispering a prayer of thanks under her breath. At home, laughter filled the kitchen again. The smell of her mother's cooking wrapped Sophia in warmth, and Carmen teased her mercilessly about the mysterious man in the photos. For once, Sophia didn't flinch at the mention of a man's name. She smiled instead, keeping the details of Hassan to herself, savoring the private spark of something new, something healing. She was rebuilding, piece by fragile piece. But outside that circle of warmth, a storm was gathering. Across town, a different reunion was taking place. Devon and the ghosts of his obsession. He had returned from Dubai, unseen, unnoticed, carrying nothing but rage and resolve. The city lights glared against his windshield as he sat in his car, parked a block from Sophia's parents' house. Through the glass, he could see the faint outline of the kitchen window. He imagined her inside, laughing, carefree, wearing a gift from another man. His grip tightened on the steering wheel. "She thinks she's safe," he muttered, the words hot in the silence. "She thinks she can run back to them, hide behind her family, hide behind him. No, she belongs to me." The nights grew longer. Devon's presence remained invisible, but his shadow crept closer. He watched from his car, from street corners, from the edges of parking lots. He memorized her routine, the way she smiled when Carmen cracked a joke, the exact moment the kitchen lights dimmed at night. On his phone, he cataloged it all: photographs, notes, timestamps. One stood out among them, saved with a chilling clarity: 11:47 p.m., August 15th. The number glared at him like prophecy. He didn't fully know why he fixated on it. Perhaps it was instinct, perhaps delusion. But to Devon it was more than time. It was a moment waiting to happen. The night destiny would write itself. Meanwhile, Sophia leaned into her fragile freedom. She slipped the bracelet onto her wrist each morning like armor, the tiny stethoscope catching the light as she studied for exams, as she sipped coffee with Carmen, as she sat in therapy and spoke, haltingly, about forgiveness and fear. The bracelet became more than jewelry. It was a promise, a reminder that her dreams were intact, her heart still hers. She didn't know about the car idling nearby, or the man inside rehearsing how he would reclaim her. On the night of August 15th, the air in Miami was thick, heavy with late summer heat. Sophia sat on the porch, the gold bracelet glinting in the moonlight, as her father hummed a tune from his homeland, and her mother embroidered quietly beside him. Carmen snapped photos, teasing Sophia about how glamorous she looked under the porch light. For Sophia, it was a perfect moment. Ordinary but perfect. A life rebuilt. A future opening. Hope settling into her bones like a long-lost friend. Across the street, Devon lowered the camera from his eye. The digital screen displayed the last photo he had taken. Sophia, smiling softly, her wrist shimmering with gold. The timestamp blinked at the corner of the frame. 11:47 p.m. He leaned back in the driver's seat, heart pounding, a fever of anticipation coursing through him. The line between reality and obsession blurred, until nothing existed except the moment to come. "She'll understand," he whispered into the night. "She'll see. She has to." The clock on his dashboard ticked forward, each second pulling him closer to the edge. Inside the house, Sophia laughed with her family, unaware that the hour, the prophecy in pixels, was about to turn. The door clicked shut behind her, and silence filled the Miami apartment. Sophia slipped her sandals off and set her bag on the counter, her gold bracelet catching the dim glow of the kitchen light. It was late, too late for calls or messages, but she considered phoning Carmen anyway, just to say goodnight. The phone buzzed once in her hand. A notification. She frowned, swiping it away. Unread messages could wait until morning. She didn't notice the faint shift in the shadows behind her, or the breath held in the darkness. The first sound was a muffled gasp, half shock, half disbelief. Then came the argument, low at first, urgent, impossible to mistake. Her voice, sharp with fear. "Devin, you can't be here. You're not supposed to be here." His colder, "You left me no choice." The words tangled into a storm of noise, rising, breaking, crashing against the apartment's walls. A chair scraped the floor. Something fell, clattering across the tile. But outside, the building was still. Neighbors slept. The city carried on, oblivious. At her parents' house, only a few miles away, laughter still lingered in the air. Carmen flipped through photos on her phone, showing Sophia's smile to their mother, who shook her head with joy. Their father hummed, half asleep in his armchair. "Should I call her?" Carmen asked, thumb hovering over the screen. "Let her rest," her mother said softly. "She's safe at home." Safe. The word settled like a prayer, but the prayer was already too late. Inside the apartment, the struggle turned brutal. Devin's voice, once charming, now cracked with rage. "You think you can erase me? Replace me with him? With anyone?" Sophia's cry broke the air, desperate, pleading. "Please don't." A heavy thud cut her words short. Fabric tore. Glass shattered. The rhythm of violence filled the small space, muffled but unmistakable, as though the walls themselves tried to bury the sound. Her phone lit up where it had fallen. Its screen glowed with an unanswered call that never connected. At 11:47 p.m., the security camera in the hallway caught nothing but the ordinary, a quiet corridor, a flickering light overhead, silence stretching into stillness. Inside, however, time fractured. Sophia's bracelet snapped loose from her wrist, skidding across the floor. Blood stained the rug. Her dreams cut short in the place she once called refuge. Devin's breathing filled the room, ragged, unsteady. He knelt beside what he had done, hands trembling not with regret, but with possessive finality. "You're mine," he whispered, his words almost tender. Now, forever. Back at her parents' home, the night wound down. Carmen finally set her phone aside, her eyes drifting shut. Their mother kissed her father's forehead before turning out the light. The house settled into quiet comfort, wrapped in the illusion that Sophia was safe in her own bed. None of them knew that, across the city, her bed would never be slept in again. Hours passed before the silence in the apartment thickened into something unbearable. The air seemed heavier, the night darker. Devin stood, his shadow stretching long across the wall. He gathered himself, methodical now, cold. He wiped surfaces, straightened objects, staged a room with grim precision. To anyone else, it would look like tragedy, chaos spun from nowhere. But to him, it was destiny fulfilled. He glanced once more at Sophia, her stillness unbearable even in his madness. His chest rose and fell. Then, without ceremony, he slipped out the door, closing it behind him as if leaving from an ordinary visit. The camera in the hallway blinked red. It caught him walking away, his face angled low, his figure swallowed by shadow. Timestamp, 12:03 a.m. Back at her parents' house. Dawn threatened the horizon. Birds stirred, the first whispers of morning breaking the dark. Carmen's phone buzzed on a nightstand with a new message, a reminder Sophia had set for herself. "Don't forget your 8 a.m. shift." The screen lit the room briefly, then faded back into silence. For now, Sophia's absence was unnoticed. For now, her family still dreamed. But soon, the unanswered call, the silence of her phone, the timestamp on the camera would converge into a truth too horrific to deny. The investigation began in silence. Yellow tape fluttered outside Sophia's Miami apartment. Neighbors huddled in whispers as detectives stepped carefully through the scene. Every detail mattered now. The shattered glass, the overturned chair, the lifeless phone glowing faintly with unanswered calls. But it was a digital trail, the invisible threads of her online world, that would begin to weave the truth together. Detective Alvarez sat before a laptop in the precinct, scrolling through Sophia's social media. To the casual eye, her account painted joy. Sunsets in Dubai, laughter with friends, the photo of her and Hassan beneath city lights. But behind every like, every comment, was someone else, someone watching. Devin Blake. He had crafted fake profiles, dozens of them, each tailored to slip unnoticed. Some posed as strangers, others as friends of friends, their only purpose to watch Sophia's every move. Direct messages left unsent drafts. Comments written and deleted. Search histories filled with her name, her locations, her circle of trust. Her life online had been her escape, her diary of resilience. Now it became evidence. The prosecution pieced it together like fragments of a broken mirror. Flight records revealed Devin's sudden trip to Dubai, booked within hours of her posting the first travel photo. Surveillance from Miami International Airport showed him pacing at her gate, jaw tight, eyes hollow. Then came the surveillance stills from Sophia's building. Devin entering the complex at 11:42 p.m., head down, hands buried in his pockets. At 12:03 a.m., the same figure emerged, walking briskly into the night. The timestamps matched too perfectly. In court documents, the narrative was chilling. Devin had monitored Sophia's accounts daily, sometimes hourly, constructing his own reality from curated images. Each smile became betrayal, each friend a rival, Hassan the ultimate enemy. The internet had not only fueled his obsession, it had sharpened it into a weapon. Meanwhile, Sophia's family struggled beneath the crushing weight of grief and guilt. Her mother replayed their last night together again and again, whispering, "If only I had told her to stay." Her father sat silently in his chair, the bracelet found beside. Sophia returned to him in a sealed evidence bag. He could barely bring himself to open. Carmen's torment cut deepest. The unanswered call, the hesitation before pressing her sister's number. Those seconds became an endless loop in her mind. "If I called," she whispered into the dark, "if I just called." Friends gathered in hushed vigils, lighting candles outside the hospital where Sophia once worked. Nurses left white roses at her locker. Patients who remembered her kindness came forward, sharing how she had comforted them in their darkest hours. Miami mourned not only the brutality of her loss, but the light extinguished with it. The media followed relentlessly, amplifying every revelation. Headlines screamed of obsession, betrayal, violence. Comment threads filled with outrage, sympathy, and strangers debating her life as though it belonged to them. Yet amid the noise, one truth rang loudest. The same digital platform that had carried Sophia's laughter across oceans now carried the evidence that would condemn her killer. Detective Alvarez closed the case 5 weeks later with a heaviness in his chest. Justice might come, but it would never feel like enough. Devin's face stared back at him from the arrest photo, empty, unrepentant. "Obsession leaves no winners," Alvarez muttered, sliding the folder away. At Sophia's funeral, the gold bracelet was placed gently into her casket by Carmen's trembling hands. The stethoscope-shaped curve glinted one last time in the sunlight before being lowered into the earth. "She deserved more," Carmen whispered, tears streaking her face. So much more. Around her, the family wept, their grief uniting but also isolating. Each carried their own burden of guilt, their own what-ifs, their own unanswered questions. And yet, beneath the sorrow, there was also resolve. To remember her not only as a victim, but as a daughter, a sister, a healer. To speak her name with love, not only loss. As the case prepared for trial, the weight of the evidence seemed insurmountable. Devin's online footprints, once invisible, now formed a roadmap of intent. His obsession, once hidden, was now exposed for all to see. The world knew the truth. But for Sophia's family, knowing the truth was not the same as peace. The courtroom was heavy with silence, the kind that seemed to press against the skin. Reporters sat poised with pens. Family members clutched tissues, and the public gallery overflowed with faces drawn by headlines. At the center of it all sat Devin Blake, his posture rigid, eyes cold. He wore the mask of calm, but it fooled no one. The jury shifted uncomfortably when his gaze swept toward them, unblinking, detached. For Sophia's family, every glance felt like a fresh wound. The prosecution opened with a simple truth. This case is about obsession. It is about control. And it is about a young woman who wanted only to live her life free. Then came Sophia's voice, not in person, but through fragments preserved in ink and data. Her text messages to Carmen, her diary entries read aloud, her emails to professors about her dream of becoming a pediatrician. Each word painted a picture of someone vibrant, determined, alive. She wrote, the prosecutor said, holding up a highlighted page, I just want to help kids who don't have a chance. I don't care if I never make money, as long as I make a difference. The courtroom stilled. For a moment, Sophia's presence seemed to linger in the air, her voice carried by those who loved her. The defense tried to argue instability, jealousy, a moment of passion gone wrong. But each piece of evidence cut through the excuses like glass. The fake accounts Devin created to stalk her, the flight records to Dubai, the surveillance footage of him entering and leaving her apartment. There was no mistaking intent. Witness after witness came forward. Carmen's testimony left the gallery in tears. She spoke of their final night together, of the unanswered call, her voice breaking as she whispered, if only I'd pressed dial sooner. Their mother described Sophia's compassion, how even as a child she cared for stray animals and painted pictures of hospitals filled with light. Their father, usually a man of steel, faltered when he held up the bracelet Sophia had received in Dubai. She was meant to heal, he said, his voice trembling, not be destroyed. The most haunting contrast lay in the defendant himself. While Sophia's dreams filled the courtroom with color, Devin remained expressionless, hands folded neatly on the table. No flicker of remorse crossed his face, no acknowledgement of the life he had stolen. When asked if he regretted his actions, his reply was chilling in its simplicity. She left me no choice. The words fell like ice across the room. Gasps rose from the gallery. Sophia's mother covered her ears, as though refusing to let his cruelty taint her daughter's memory. The prosecution seized the moment. This is not love, the attorney said firmly. This is possession. This is control. And it cost Sophia her life. Over days, the trial unraveled every thread of Devin's obsession. Digital forensics painted a map of his fixation. The endless logins, the screenshots of Sophia's posts, the deleted drafts of messages that seethed with jealousy. Social media, once her lifeline of expression, now became the strongest weapon against her killer. When closing arguments ended, the jury withdrew. Hours stretched. Sophia's family sat in the tense quiet, hands intertwined, breaths held in fragile hope. Finally, the doors opened. The foreperson rose. Guilty, they declared, the word ringing like a bell through the chamber. On all counts. Sophia's mother wept openly. Carmen buried her face in her father's shoulder. For a moment, it felt like a sliver of justice had been won. But justice's edges. No verdict could bring Sophia back. No sentence could restore the mornings her family would never share. The patients who would never feel her kindness. The children she dreamed of healing. The gavel fell, and yet the silence that followed was not victory. It was absence. Devin was led away in chains, his expression unchanged, as though even the weight of judgment could not pierce his delusion. In the weeks that followed, Sophia's story spread beyond Miami. Advocacy groups spoke of digital safety, of the dangers of online obsession. Her name became a symbol, her life a reminder of how love, control, and technology could collide with deadly force. At her family's home, a framed photo of Sophia now sat on the mantel beside the gold bracelet, polished and gleaming in the light. They lit a candle each evening, not only in mourning, but in memory of her purpose, a light extinguished too soon, but never forgotten.